Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Recon. This is episode 706, and it's Monday, and that means we're having a conversation that's going to be at the table. We'll throw up the thumbnail for you guys to see if you haven't taken a look at it yet. And this is the situation. You're working with a buyer. You may have been working with them for some time. You're sitting down to write up the contract. You've already shown the home, you've discussed the terms of the offer, and all of a sudden, the buyer asks the question. Should we get an appraisal first? Now, recon is real estate conversations, but this is mastery recon. So we're not only going to be talking about the conversation, we're going to be talking about what you should be thinking about the conversation because we want you to think before you answer. So welcome everybody. Welcome back after the 4th of July celebrations. And today is a big day. If you're into USA soccer, they play tonight. So I'm sure you'll be watching that game. And maybe it's actually this afternoon. I'm in Alaska, so my time's all messed up. So welcome, Louise. Let's get started. Who's ready to sit and handle this role play? And I'm willing to go first.
I'm going to voluntold Frank Ruma.
You ready, Frank?
Let's do it.
We're at the table, okay, where you're writing up the contract. That's awesome. Frank, this is kind of moving kind of fast, and maybe we should get an appraisal first.
Okay, Denny. And the reason for that is to make sure you're making the right offer on this property. Is that correct?
Well, right off, right. I guess, yeah, that would be part of it. I mean, I'm thinking appraisal would have something to do with what we should offer, and I don't want to overpay.
I totally get that. And that I've done an analysis, which you've seen. So the question is, what's an appraiser going to come back at after we do an offer? Now, you got two choices. You could ask for an appraisal up front and pay for that up front, but are you getting financing?
It could go either way, actually. We could pay cash, but we'd probably like to get a small loan.
Okay, then I would suggest that you don't get the appraisal up front, and here's why. You're going to pay for that appraisal up front, and when you apply for your loan, they're going to have you pay for another appraisal. They won't use the one you had done. So if you're going that way, and we can make the contract subject to appraisal. So if it doesn't hit value, we can walk away or renegotiate.
Well, what's the cost of an appraisal?
About $500 to $600.
I got that, and I appreciate you pointing that out. But my question though is, $500, I don't want to waste it, but that's maybe better than spending 5,000 or maybe even $10,000
Well, think
more
think
on the
about it like
house.
this. If we put in the contract subject to appraisal and the appraisal comes in 5,000 lower, we are back at the table negotiating with them. So you only spent that money once.
But I think we have a weaker negotiating position if we offer too much up front.
Well, let me ask you this. What if we paid for the appraisal up front and did it, and then they did not accept our offer? Are you good with that?
Well, if we offer appraised value and they don't accept our offer, then it sounds to me like they might be asking too much for the house. I don't want that house.
What if the appraisal comes back in higher and they still don't accept your offer?
Well, then I think you're smoking sweet and low. All right, time, Frank. Way to step up and be first. Good to see you again. All right, how did you feel it went? Anything you'd like to redo?
I thought my buyer was an idiot.
Many times they are.
I've never had that
So,
question, so that was a new one for me.
you've never had that question? Has anyone in the chat ever had that question?
You mean
Maybe I'm
you mean
smoking
you've
sweet and
never
low.
had it at all, or never had it at that timeline?
I've never had it at all from a buyer. I've had it from a seller where we suggest maybe an appraisal is what we need to do before we list.
Well, I'm so glad you mentioned that because on Wednesday, we're going to have the same scenario from a seller, Frank. So make sure you're on. We'll see how we handle it. All right, let's go to number two.
Okay,
We'll do a couple
Jose.
of these. I'm kind of curious what you guys are thinking on this. All right, go ahead, Louise.
Jose and me. Hey, Jose, should we get an appraisal before, should we get an appraisal first before you submit the offer?
Okay, what are you hoping to find with the appraisal, Luis?
To make sure that the price we're offering is in line with what the value of the house is.
Well, we looked at what the market is showing for that neighborhood. What do you think that analysis shows you?
Well, the market is changing every day, right? So if an appraisal comes in and it's showing a value that is different from the list price, why would I offer a higher price?
Okay, what if the appraisal comes higher? What are you going to do then, Luis?
Then I'll be happy to offer the list price.
Okay, we'll do whatever you want, but what if it costs you getting an appraisal before we submit an offer causes you to lose out on the house?
Why, what do you mean? How would that happen?
What if the seller does not want you to get an appraisal before you submit our offer or ratify the offer? What would we do the next?
I would be skeptical. Is the seller trying to hide something?
Well, what makes you say that, Luis? What would we be hiding?
Why would they be opposed to me getting an appraisal?
Okay. It's not necessarily that they are opposed. The house is a few days on the market. As of this morning, they were willing to accept list price. What if there's more than one offer is being submitted?
Oh, you mean like the timing of
Yeah.
my
Time.
offer?
All right, Jose, the pro at asking questions. Who's next, Louise?
Oh, let's see. We don't have anyone else who's put their name in there, and I can't see who's in the chat. If Robert is here, that would be a great one. Janet,
So,
are you game?
hang on a second. So, all right, maybe this is a weird situation. Maybe you've never had it. Do you think this is something you should be able to handle? Because on Wednesday, like I said, we're going to handle the seller. The seller's saying, well, maybe before we list, maybe we should get an appraisal. Or guess what? The seller you have listed may say, well, I'll tell you what, this offer is low, and we make a counter, and you think that we're maybe overpriced, maybe we should get an appraisal. So whether it comes from a buyer or seller, I think you want to understand a couple of different things. And Louise, while you coax somebody or somebody volunteers to play, I want to bring up two observations from the first two role plays. Both Frank and Jose mentioned, well, we did a market analysis. Frank said that to me when I was the buyer. Jose, hey, look, we did, we've gone over the market. Will that tell you necessarily what the buyer should pay for the house? So you can put your answer in the chat because if there is a market analysis and you do one, it will give you a range of value. So my question I want you to think about, how does the appraisal support that? The other thing I want you to think about is notice how the thumbnail, and we can take it down here in a second. It says there's a difference, but can I get an appraisal before we make an offer, or should I get an appraisal before we make an offer? So who's up next, Louise? Let's do one more, then let's get into this a little bit and some tips and tricks that you might want to remember if this ever comes up.
We have some people in line now. Susan and Don are going, followed by Janet and Kelly.
Okay.
Hey, Susan, can we slow the roll a little bit? I see you whipped out the purchase contract. I'm thinking, should we get an appraisal first?
Well done. That's absolutely something that you can do. What's your reasoning for asking?
Well, I appreciate you did the evaluation, but I don't want to pay too much.
Okay, understood. What do you think, or how do you feel about the asking price?
Well, I think it's too much. So if we get an appraisal, it kind of validates us coming in a little bit under the list price, don't you think?
Okay. Well, possibly. Why do you think this is too much? Why do you think they're asking too much?
Well, it's been on the market for 27 days, and I think you told me there were no offers, so time for us to maybe make a move. And so that they don't get mad at us, we could send them, hey, here's what it appraised at.
All right. Let me give you a couple scenarios, quick scenarios. If you decided that you wanted to try and get an appraisal on this house and the buyer said, no, they don't want they don't want to allow anybody in to appraise, how's that going to make you feel about the home?
You mean the seller, the
I mean,
seller.
the seller. Yes, sorry, the seller.
Yeah. Maybe they're trying to hide something. That made me a little skeptical. Does that happen?
It could if they don't want to allow extra people in the house, but that's the reason you get um, an inspection done before you finalize the contract or the purchase agreement. So if another quick scenario, if the appraisal came in and it's $10,000 over what the asking price is, how's that going to make you feel?
I guess maybe I'm getting a bargain, but I wouldn't necessarily pay them that appraisal price then, but I might
Time.
pay a little more.
Now, there's a scenario, and Susan, I think you did a pretty good job. You did a couple of things I really like. Nice role play, by the way.
Hmm.
Here's what I like what Susan did. Should I get should I get a if the question was, and you can take it down, Sherry. If the question was, can I get one? Sure, you can. I guess the question we should talk about, okay, and this is the second thing I think you did well, Susan, is that what's the goal? All right. And then I think the third thing that you handled probably similar that I would do, say, of course, or should I get an appraisal? What's our favorite two words, guys? Should I get an appraisal before we make the offer? Put it in the chat. Our favorite two words.
Hmm.
There you go. It depends. Let's talk about that a little bit. So that was actually a pretty good role play. Probably, and this is where you got into the weeds a little bit as you're falling from the airplane. I think of an appraiser. You could hire an appraiser to do an appraisal on the home without them going in, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. However, you did do the laid out scenario. So I like the role play. I think you did a pretty good job. Your first answer, guys, is because the first two role plays, Frank and Jose, I felt like you were trying to talk me out of it. Now, when we start trying to talk people out of it, can that appear that we're maybe one-sided? I think a better approach as we move forward, I think you're up next, Janet, is use what Susan used. Like, sure, okay, you can do that. Let's talk about the pros and cons of what you're trying to accomplish. And then evaluate it. Again, any question they ask about the procedure, like when we do it on Wednesday, the seller said, well, maybe we should do an appraisal, get an appraisal done before we list. Okay, let's talk about that. And maybe you're right. And then focus on their end goal. Don't automatically work on trying to talk them out of it. There are, and you guys kind of intimated this, there are some disadvantages of doing it. And put it in the chat here. Let's give the next couple people that do the role play some ammunition. Put in the chat, what could be a disadvantage of doing an appraisal before a buyer wants to make an offer? Put it into the chat. Louise, read those out if you have an opportunity. And then we'll let Janet go into the role play.
The price is higher, the price is lower, lose to another offer. Who else? Uh, Market shifts.
One of the ones that I'm thinking about, and those are all good. Here's the main one. How long, it's not the cost. How long will an appraisal take? Can you get one in the
Weeks.
day, do you think? So the timing of it is okay, so you might win the battle and what?
Lose
Lose the war.
war. Yeah.
So, all right, Janet, you ready to go?
Yeah.
All right, you're with Kelly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Hey, Kelly, you ready to write this thing up?
Well, before we do, I thought I was, but I think I want to get an appraisal first.
Okay. And well, that's exactly why we need to talk. It really depends. It depends on what you want to spend and how long it takes and will the house even be there once the appraisal comes back? So you still thinking that in that direction? What do you think?
Well,
That's a lot coming at you.
yeah,
Take one
but
at a
I
time.
just
Take one. You gave him three things there, Janet. Take it, slow it down a little bit.
Yeah, I know I should be Susan and I should be, combined and we'd be perfect.
I'll help you out, Kelly. It depends. It depends. What do
Yeah.
you want to accomplish?
Yeah, it depends on what you want to accomplish.
That's it. Janet, that's the question. Let him talk.
Okay.
well, here's what I don't want to overpay. I know that.
Okay. If we look at the contract, that's exactly what box we check. It is determined by the appraisal. I can't say no more because you won't let me.
I'm not talking.
Okay, but you said I can't, I have to ask one question. Now I'm about to say something else.
Well, I would stay. I would slow down. What I'm asking you to do, Janet, just slow down a little bit. Okay, so you don't want to overpay. I mean, okay. I think I know what you mean, but tell me what you mean by overpay.
Okay, Kelly, what do you mean by overpay, darling?
Ooh, the darling.
Ooh.
Mm.
Well, I'm a little worried that I could, if, let's say the house is listed at 450 and what if it's really only worth 430?
That's exactly why we look at the contract and I read everything to you. So you realize that you won't overpay.
All right, all right. I'll stop you there. We're at 1:30 anyway. So here's a hint for everybody. Just listen to the words. He said overpay. Janet asked a clarifying. Well, all right, I think I know what you mean, but tell me what you mean by overpay. And then he used another word. He didn't say overpay. What was the word he used?
I didn't even hear it
I know.
because I'm too busy going to answer his question.
I
And
know.
cut the chase.
That's right. You guys have got to listen.
It's that
Anybody
directness. I
put
can't help it.
what did he say? Who heard the question?
I missed it. Come on, Kelly. What'd you
He
say?
used another word that started with a W.
W.
What it's worth.
Well, that's
Raise your hand if
exactly
you heard
why
that.
I said in the stipulation, if it doesn't appraise, we
But
go.
you're going to the contract. That's not where you want to go. Watch this, Kelly. You said overpay and what it's worth. All right. So let me ask you, if you were selling a home and you were asking 450 for the home, and you had an appraisal that came in under 450, let's say 440, but you had a buyer that wanted to pay 450, what would you do as a seller?
I would let them pay the 450.
Well, what would the appraised value be? The appraisal came in at 440, but somebody wanted to pay 450. So is there a difference between appraised value, 440, and what a buyer wants to pay, 450?
Sure.
What would you do as a seller?
I would still keep it at 450.
Okay, so what is it worth to the buyer?
I guess the check that they write it for.
So there is a difference between appraised value and what it's worth. You see what I'm saying?
Yes. Yep, for sure.
All right, all right. So you've established that point. All right. What now, Janet? Just give me the question. What would be one question you would ask him about timing?
Okay, Kelly,
Darling.
darling, do you really love this house? And I know you love that word too.
We don't, but all right,
I
keep
know.
going. All right, are you leading up to it? The drum roll is going. What's the question on timing?
So, how would you feel if you went ahead and asked for an appraisal and you lost the house?
Okay. That's a takeaway. If you want to build upon it, another way to do it. So Kelly, okay, so all right, let's talk about the timing. So do you know how long an appraisal would take? To hire an appraiser and have him come out here and do that. Do you know how long it would take?
I'm not sure.
I would say, I don't know.
2 to
Can you
3
get
weeks.
one done in a day, you guys? I don't know that I
No,
can.
2 to 3 weeks.
Okay, so let's say it takes us a week. What if we go ahead and order the appraisal in by the time the appraiser has the information for you, the house is already gone. Then what? So that's just
Repeat that.
another way to ask the question. Louise, who's
Sure.
next? So Janet, good
And then
job.
you lose the $700.
Well, there you
Okay.
go. But that's small potatoes, but that is an issue. Louise, who's next?
Darlene, if you're a good sport, it'll be you and me.
Okay, I'm nervous, but let's give it a shot.
Let's do it, Darlene. Hey, Darlene,
Okay.
should we get an appraisal before you write this offer?
We should talk about that. Why do you want, what would the appraisal accomplish for you?
I want to make sure I'm not offering more than the price is or the property is valued at.
Hmm. Well, tell me, Louise, if we get this appraisal and it comes back less than the price of the home, then you have spent the money on the appraisal. You're willing to walk away from this home?
I would offer less money on the home.
Okay. So then what you're telling me is that you're willing to wait the time. You know, it's going to take a few weeks, a week to maybe 3 to get this appraisal done. And in that time, it's possible that someone may not have that contingency, or let me stop, that they haven't made that request, that they put in an offer and they're not asking for an appraisal.
So I'm going to give you a pause just for a moment.
Okay.
I think one of the first things here's kind of a model if you're following the model. Should we? Well, okay, let's talk about it. You did a good job. You didn't say yes or no. Let's talk about it.
Mhm.
I think one of the first roads you can build on it from a buyer or a seller perspective is help them understand the difference between market value and the appraised value. Is there a difference?
Okay.
So, is there a difference? And so, let's see if you can articulate the difference. Let's just stay on that path right there. So, Darlene, you're going to Louise. How would you establish that point?
Well, Louise, do you understand that the appraised value?
Don't tell, ask.
Oh, okay.
Do you know the difference? Let me help you out. And Louise, you answer, then I'll let you take over. Louise, do you understand the difference between what the appraised value is and what market value is?
No, what is it?
All right. Most likely they're not going to know. Here's a little hint, you guys.
Okay.
You should know.
Hmm.
And here's the thing, I think everyone on this call probably knows, but it doesn't matter what we know, it's what we can articulate. Hear me, it's what we can articulate to a point where they understand. So, Darlene, now you have to explain the difference.
Okay, well, the market value is what people are willing to pay, what the range has been determined. The appraised value is made by an individual who may or may not have actually visited the home, and they're looking at stats. They're looking at other prices that have
Okay,
been.
let me pause. Let me pause. Okay, so hang on a second there.
Okay.
I'll give you a breather. Who
Mhm.
wants to answer the question for me? Raise your digital hand. I want to hear your answer to the question. What is the difference? You have to explain it. Janet, hang on a second, okay? We'll see. It can't be the Janet Denny show. Maybe the Denny Janet show. Hang on a second. Who else wants to answer the question? Oh, for the same people. Come on, you guys. Let me get some new people up. How would you answer the
Frank raised
question?
his hand.
Who did?
Frank.
I know, but he has already played it. I'm trying to get some new people in here. Anyway, all right. Janet, you're first. Go.
Janet.
Janet, tell me what is the difference between appraised value and market value?
Okay, so like I said, the market value is what the houses have sold for in the last 6 months. And the appraised value may include upgrades and increase
You're
the
not
value.
helping me. You're not helping
I
me.
didn't help you. Okay, goodbye. Next.
Frank,
Hi, Lori.
Well, when it comes to appraised value, the appraiser is looking in the past history, what houses have sold for. When it comes to market value, buyers are looking at what are their choices available based on what the current market is, which either one could be higher or lower than the other one.
okay, so, all right. I don't think I'm still understanding as a buyer.
Well,
S- Give me
Denny,
a
as we're
pair,
out
give
to
me, Frank,
Denny, oh, go ahead.
give me a parallel.
Yeah,
Help me
as
understand.
well, we've been looking at houses that are for sale, correct?
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's not what the appraiser is looking at. The appraiser is looking at what houses have sold in the last 6 months.
Well, I think that would be, people could ask for pie in the sky numbers. So the appraised value, if they're looking at past souls, that seems like it'd be evidence of what it's worth.
It is, and we look at both. That's why when we did this,
Whoa,
we
whoa,
looked at
whoa,
both.
whoa. You just said it's the appraiser's looking at, I just said that must be what it's worth, and you agreed with me. You
Uh,
walked right into that. All right, how about this? I already did it once. All right. So Frank. So here is the difference. The appraiser is going to give you a number that it is appraises for, and the market value is what a buyer would pay. So if you were a seller, here's the same story, and you were asking 450, and the appraiser said it was worth 425, and there was somebody who wanted to pay 450 for it. You as a seller, which value would you go to?
and take the 450.
Because that's market value. The appraiser is going to justify it in a different way. And you can go down the line. This is what the banks want to lend on. But the issue is really this. Have you ever been in a situation where a buyer is willing to pay more than appraised value?
Yeah.
Yes. And you can say that, and without getting into the weeds, if you as a seller had somebody that wanted to pay basically market value or more than the appraised value, what would you take? So in this case here, the seller is, and I'm going back to now, you are the buyer asking me the question. So you want to get an appraisal to make sure you don't overpay. Well, okay, so let's say it takes us a week to do that. And the appraisal comes in at 425, but somebody else buys it at 450. So what was the market value of the home?
What the person was willing to pay.
And here, let's get off that. Let's say you don't, there is a difference, but I want you to be able to explain the difference. Here's the other question. And Janet brought this up, although we're not allowed to say this on Recon. Well, let me ask you, how long do you plan on living in a home, Frank?
Right now, it looks like 7 years.
Okay, so my question is if you took the time to have an appraisal and lost the home, and you did that over and over again, what have you gained?
A lot of lost appraisal money.
So before we go any further, and how many people, and Louise brags about, and rightfully so, if you have the strategy session up front, maybe this is the discussion you would bring up if you have a real engineer type bean counter, is that do you understand the difference between appraised value and market value? And are you willing to pay market value? Because if you are, we're going to be competitive. If not, then we're going to have a longer timeline. Does that make sense? Then there's also, okay, so now you've gone all, now who wants to handle the fact, okay, uh, I'll be the customer here for a second. Who wants to handle me? And I'm going to say, well, I don't want to overpay. So I want to get the appraisal first to make sure I overpay. You say we could do that, but there's a better strategy. What is a better strategy, guys? Somebody new. You can just answer, what is a better strategy? Anybody?
Putting up,
Anyone's allowed to answer this.
I mean, sorry, I can't, I'm driving and I don't know how to work this to raise my hand and find the
That's
chat.
okay.
Um, and
I'm sorry.
why wouldn't, if they're really stuck on having an appraisal, couldn't you just add an appraisal contingency
There you
and
go. That's it.
Yeah.
There you go. That was brought up in one of the role plays. But again, what I want you to do, what I hope, and we'll see what happens on Wednesday. By the way, tomorrow we're having Matt will be leading a conversation about the bull ride. And really quick before you guys go, and we sign off, we're about the top of the hour. We're going to tomorrow. We're going to have kind of you did this a week or two ago, and we're going to have kind of more of the entry level bull ride. The bull ride is your outbound call. It's the here's my big aha as I was studying for the class tomorrow. We do not get paid by the hour. We get paid by the second. And I'm suggesting the highest pay that you can earn in real estate is mastering the first 10 seconds of your outbound call. Because how you begin that will be how you end that and how your lead generation actually produces income. So if that's the case, do you think you're wise to invest in your first 10 seconds? That's what we're going to work on tomorrow. So let's go through this one really quick and what I want you to what I want you to take away on every conversation, buyer or seller. Don't be afraid, be agnostic and say, well, it depends. Let's talk about that. What is your goal? Okay, if that is you don't want to overpay, what is overpay? Now I'm going to talk to a buyer, all right? So if are you willing to pay market value or are you only going to pay appraised value? So if they're going to say, well, okay, well then you'll have to help them understand the difference because if they only want to pay appraised value, my question is going to be, okay, what if the appraisal comes in high? How many people have seen an appraisal come in higher than what the market's willing to pay? So are you willing, if the appraisal comes in higher than market value, what are you willing to pay, Jose?
Whichever is cheaper.
Okay, so you're not really stuck on the appraised value, are you? And that sounds like a buyer. All right. And that may work in some markets, but you need to know that up front. So don't resist. Welcome, help them say, well, it depends. Let's look at it. What's your goal? Hey, there could be a better strategy. And you want to find out too, one of the questions, if you had a buyer that wanted to do, and I have never had this, but if you had a buyer that wanted to do an appraisal before they did any offer, that would be problematic, wouldn't it? Now, before we go, who wants to handle this? Because two people, both Jose and Frank mentioned it. All right. I don't want an appraisal. I want you to tell me, what is this home worth, Jose? You said you did a market analysis, Jose, and I know we've looked at some other homes. So what is this home worth?
The market is supporting these ranges. What is it worth to you, Mr. Buyer?
Okay. Frank, you brought up you did a market analysis. What should I offer on this home? You've talked me out of an appraisal. What should I offer?
Ultimately, that's going to be your choice, Denny. What we do know is this is the value between here and here where the house falls. But, and I'll
Stop.
fight for you.
Hold on there. Hold on right there. This is the value. Is that a statement?
Yeah.
It is a statement. But have you ever seen a home's value not be within a range of value from historical data? So again, mastery level, and I'll kind of end here, and maybe if you have some questions, you can raise your hand. We'll go off camera. Is this a better way to say that according to what we've seen here in the last 40 days or 90 days, this is the range where homes are selling? Do you see the difference in the statement? Frank?
Yes.
All right. So, all right, then what should I offer? That's the range. I like lower range better than upper range. What do you recommend?
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, according to the other agent, there's no other offers on the property, Denny. I'm going to let you choose where you want to go, but I think this price here would get us as a contender.
And now again, I was able to watch the fireworks on the 4th of July. Did anybody see any fireworks take place right there?